So I've had my hands on Lenovo's flagship gaming laptop, the Legion 9i, for just over a couple of weeks now. We've already dropped an unboxing and first impressions, but now that I've given this laptop a really good workout, it's time for the actual review. Before we start looking at the laptop itself, I want to talk about the price and the options available for this machine. Now, we bought the base model of this laptop in the UK and it cost a whopping £4,300, easily the most expensive base model of any game laptop we've ever bought before. But this base model is pretty decked out. Now, it's got the Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX, an RTX 5080, 64GB of 5200 mega transfer DDR5 and a 2TB Gen 5 SSD. And of course, an 18-inch 4K Plus display. So when comparing to a Razer Blade 18, their 18 options are much cheaper, but they usually only have 32GB of RAM, though that doesn't even come close to matching the price difference. Now, as always with Lenovo, you can customize it yourself. You can go right up to 192GB of RAM and a 5090. There's even a 3D display option now, which wasn't available when I ordered this laptop. Okay, so onto the laptop itself. And straight away, let's look at the lid. It comes with a stunning carbon fiber lid. It's completely unique to each laptop, so every one will look very slightly different. And I think this is a really nice feature, and it looks and feels stunning in real life. Plus, being this carbon fiber finish, it's not a fingerprint magnet like most of the other gaming laptops out there. Now, being an 18-inch laptop, it is solid and heavy, coming in at 3.52 kilograms. Plus, it is incredibly large, and the exhaust vents stick out of the rear, making it very difficult to fit in a lot of bags. You're going to need a decent-sized 18-inch laptop bag to fit this beast in it. Now, the Legion logo on the lid is RGB and backlit, and we get a great-looking RGB strip right around the front, all of which can be adjusted in the Space software, along with the per-key RGB keyboard. So we go on the back, you can see we've got the RGB logo. It looks really lovely with the way that it's lit out the box. This is like the rainbow setting. And then the RGB across the front and just the side edges. I do think it's a bit of a shame it doesn't go right the way around the laptop, but it does look great. And as I mentioned, the per-key, again with the rainbow wave, RGB keyboard. Now, again, all the effects can be changed, and it's per key, so you can literally do whatever you want with this. And the Space software is really easy to work with. Okay, the port selection is pretty impressive. Now, on the left side, we've got a USB-A, a flip-down Ethernet port, 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports, and a headset jack. Now, both of those Thunderbolt 5 ports are wired directly to the NVIDIA card. I know that's going to please a lot of people. Then if we move to the right side, we've got another 2 USB-As, a full-size SD card slot, and a USB-C 10 gigabit, and that one is actually wired to the Intel graphics. So if you wanted to have it coming through Optimus, you can use this port. And then lastly, we have got a webcam lock switch, so you can just kill your webcam with a flick of that switch, though that will also disable Windows Hello. Then just looking at the rear, we've got the power jack and an HDMI 2.1 also wired to the NVIDIA graphics card. And then all of the rest of it is actually venting, pumping all the hot air out the back. Notice there is no side vents on the Legion 9i this year, all of those vents at the back. So that means all of that hot air is pumped out of the back of the machine. No hot hands like previous Legions if you're right beside your laptop. So that's something I do like, although I did like having a lot more ports at the back. Okay, so looking at the actual deck of this laptop, we've got an aluminium palm rest, and as you can see, there's already some fingerprints on here, and a really large glass touchpad. This touchpad feels really premium. It tracks well and gestures work perfectly. I've absolutely loved using the touchpad on this laptop. And moving up to the keyboard, as usual for Legion, this is an incredible keyboard. Now, I've already mentioned it's per-key RGB, but it also has a number pad, and unlike many other brands, we actually get a separated full-size cursor keys. I really like this. I hate the fact that a lot of brands, Razer Blade 18 as an example, crush the cursor keys into the actual keyboard, making it very difficult to actually find them. The keycaps, travel and key pressure is all solid, leading to a great typing experience. Now, in my opinion, Legion and Alienware keyboards are the best gaming keyboards in the business, as far as I'm concerned. Now, either side of the keyboard, you can see the speaker grills, and the 9i has 6 speaker system, which sounds like this. Speaker test of the Legion 9i 18-inch gaming laptop at 50% volume. Now 80%. And 100%. Wow, those are some loud speakers. They would really sort of fill a room. Sound quality wise, pretty good actually. One of the better gaming laptops we've actually listened to. Probably not quite as tuned as say a MacBook Pro 16, but overall quite impressive. Okay, moving up to the screen. And this is something that seems quite polarizing, judging by all the comments I had from the unboxing video. The base model gets this 4K plus 240Hz, 520 nit glossy IPS panel. Now you can switch it down to 1920 by 1200p native 440Hz in a toggle in the BIOS. Now that's really handy for some esports title, but it's a real pain having to go into BIOS to switch that over. So I think that should have been handled via the Space software, and maybe that's something they will implement in the future. But for an IPS panel, this is absolutely stunning. It's probably one of the best IPS panels that I've ever used. Colours are great, blacks are impressive, and I've not noticed any bleed. It gets pretty bright, but being glossy it absolutely needs to, and I would still prefer a matte screen personally over a glossy, even if that matte does degrade the image quality very slightly. Being a 4K plus display, it's going to be great for content creators or 3D modelers or even game designers out there, which is where I think Lenovo are actually aiming this laptop at. But for pure gaming, I do think a 2560 by 1600 resolution panel would have been the better choice, like we got in the Alienware 18 Area 51. And I can also hear you screaming at your screen that it's just an IPS panel on a 4,300 laptop, and yes, you are right. But there is no OLED options currently available in 18 inches, though they could have certainly opted for a 4K mini LED. But Lenovo have decided not today. We're going to offer an upgrade to the Naked Eye 3D screen. Now sadly this wasn't available when I ordered it, so I can't test it, but it is a £170 upgrade, so let's hope it's worth it. Though in my opinion I think 3D displays are a bit of a gimmick. So moving up above the screen we have a 5 megapixel webcam which looks like this. This is a test of the webcam and the microphones on the new Lenovo Legion 9i gaming laptop. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think this looks and sounds like. And it also includes Windows Hello, which in my humble opinion all premium laptops should have. Looking at you, Legion Pro 7i. Okay, so enough of that. Let's shut this laptop down and take the baseplate off to look inside. Now getting into the laptop was a little hairy. You undo all of the screws, then you're going to need a suction cup to pull up the rear of the baseplate up. Now once you've pulled it up away from the laptop, you then slide it out, but do not try to do this from the front of that actual base plate because it will just bend up and can potentially damage it. Trust me, I've already done it. Now once we are inside, we're greeted to some big positives of this laptop. 4 M.2 slots, one of which is a Gen 5 drive populated with a fast Gen 5 SSD. All of the drives are covered with heat sinks, which you're going to need to keep all of these drives cool. We also get 4 RAM slots, giving you a theoretical 256GB of memory, though at a paltry 4,000 megatransfers a second. Now the stock 64GB kit that I received was actually 5,600 megatransfer RAM, but it's limited to 5,200 megatransfers. And this is a real shame when you see either the Legion Pro 7i or the Alienware Area 51 using the much faster 64,000 megatransfers RAM. Now I'm sure they'd need to restrict the speeds to enable the 4 RAM slots, but I would have preferred 2 fast RAM slots than 4 slow slots, especially as you can put 120GB of RAM in 2 slots, which would be more than enough for 99.9% of laptop users out there. Now rounding out the internals, we've got a large 99 watt hour battery, which is the largest battery you can put in a laptop, and a socketed Wi-Fi 7 card. And the cooling system looks really robust with 4 fans and a vapor chamber cooler. So let's put this back together and see how well it performs. Starting with the Core Ultra 9 275HX, and we've been really impressed with this CPU this year. It's done very well in the Alienware 18 and the Razer Blade 18. Now this chip takes a lot of wattage to reach its maximum clock speeds of the 24 cores. Fortunately, this Legion 9i does us proud, with incredible single core and multi-core scores as shown in the Geekbench 6 benchmarks. In the longer Cinebench R24 10-minute torture test, again, the Legion 9i gave us incredible results, better than both the Blade 18 and the Alienware 18, thanks to the fact the performance mode lets it boost up to 200 watts, then holds at 170 watts throughout the entire tests. Now it did hit 104C at that 200 watts, which is a very high temperature, and I must admit I'm not that comfortable with that, but then it started throttling back down to the 170 watts. Testing each of the profiles in CinebenchR R24 shows what a good mix of performance to fan noise we have with this Legion 9i. Now the quiet mode is whisper quiet with a long-term CPU boost of 55 watts. Now the balance mode sits at 46 decibels, which still is pretty good, at 90 watts. And of course there's that performance mode, and that's pretty loud at 52 decibels. So we can see how well this CPU is managed in this big 18-inch laptop. Now let's take a look at the GPU. Now we've got the RTX 5080 with 16GB of GDR7. This is a 175 watt card with G-Sync and Advanced Optimus. The HDMI and the left side Thunderbolt ports are all wired directly to the graphics card, meaning you can enable G-Sync on external monitors or connect to your VR headset. Now first we want to start by running TimeSpy in the performance profile, and it gave us by far the best TimeSpy score that we've ever received this year, beating out the Blade 18 and the Alienware 18. The balanced and quiet profiles also gave us pretty impressive scores. Here in this table you can see what each profile scores and the power budget it is allocated. The laptop had no problem with a 280 watt crossload, and we saw this value regularly in our gaming, firing up a few bouts of COD, and it would often be using the full 280 watt whilst retaining impressive internal temperatures. Next, I fired up the finals as I'm so addicted to this game and I can play this on each profile. With the game settings at 4K with a bit of DLSS and epic settings, it was playable on all the profiles. The quiet is a whisper quiet 33 decibels whilst locking the GPU to 65 watt and the CPU to 25 watt. Balanced is still a comfortable 42 decibels with a power budget of 95 watt and 45 watt, and the performance mode is a much louder 52 decibels with the 175 watt and 105 watt that we mentioned a few minutes ago. Keyboard temperatures were also very comfortable in all of our long-term gaming sessions, and because all the venting is now removed to the rear, you won't get a scorched mouse hand like on the side vents from the previous Legion 9i from last year. Whilst we're also talking about gaming, I want to touch a little more on the 4K Plus display. As great as the display is, it can be tough to drive demanding games at its native resolution without DLSS or FrameGen. Other game laptops are opting for a 1600p display, so I'm running a couple of demanding titles at both resolutions and the same settings so you can see what the hit that 4K Plus does to the frame rate. Now obviously you can drop settings or change resolutions in-game, but I'm surprised that Lenovo didn't offer a 1600p panel for the dedicated gamers out there. And just lastly, before we leave the gaming section, the profiles, lighting and settings are now handled by the Space software, which I'm not loving to be honest. Vantage was much better, but now you have to run Vantage for updates and a few of the settings and Space for the rest. The Legion Space is a mess and wants to be a software store that no one's ever going to use, and you need to actually find the settings sections at the bottom tab. From here you can change the profiles and adjust the settings for the custom profile, which is very, very good. All the RGB lighting is also controlled from here, and you can also change the monitor settings too. Now I hope Lenovo are watching this and can actually take this as constructive feedback and hopefully give it some love. Please also consider adding an actual switch from the actual 4K Plus to the 1200p in this Space software as well, so that some people will actually use it. Okay then, so onto the battery life, and we tested this laptop in its quiet mode at 200 nits of brightness with the RGB lighting off and the screen set to 60 Hz. Streaming YouTube over Wi-Fi, we managed 5 hours and 42 minutes, which is pretty much what we're seeing with all of these 8-inch gaming laptops this year. Still, this laptop does feel snappy on battery, and I'm sure most people will be using these powered by mains on a desk the majority of the time. Now we do get a massive 400 watt PSU that adds 1.1 kilogram to the overall weight of this package. So that's a fair amount of weight in your backpack. Now fortunately Lenovo have equipped this laptop with power delivery of up to 140 watts if you buy the Lenovo USB-C charger. Now if you don't want to buy that charger, you can use a powerful 100 watt like my Ugreen that I've been using. Performance with 100 watt PD is actually great on the CPU, but game performance was very close to a 4050, so not so good. And also I did have trouble getting my PD monitor, which is 100 watt PD, working with this laptop, and that's really unusual because my Blade 18 and even the Alienware 18 both worked with the same monitor. Okay then, so on to the conclusion, and I have to say I absolutely love this laptop. I think the design is stunning. It is a big 18-inch, it's unapologetically big, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as big and heavy as the Alienware 18, but it has incredible performance. The biggest fly in the ointments for me, well there's two big gripes for me, is one, the price. I mean, £4,300 for a base price is absolutely insane. So let's hope Lenovo have some sales on these soon so we can get some down at a reasonable value. The second biggest gripe for me, it's not the fact that it's an IPS display, because it does look really good for an IPS display. It's because it's glossy. Now, glossy screens, it does give you a better image, and this is, as I say, the best looking IPS display I've ever used. But the glare, and if you're in a bright environment like in this studio and my house is really bright, I hate dealing with a glare display. Now, having used the Anywhere 18 and the Razer Blade 18, which were both matte, they didn't look quite as good as this display, but they're so much more comfortable to use, especially when you're gaming in a bright environment, that I would much prefer those over this one. And although there is other panel choices from Lenovo, it's either this or, in my opinion, a gimmicky 3D display, which is also glossy. So that is a bit of a gripe for me. Other couple of concerns, which I don't think are a big deal, but the fact that the RAM is limited to 4,000 mega transfers if you use 4, or 5,200 mega transfers if you use 2 slots. Again, bit of a shame. It's such a high-spec, powerful machine to dumb down the RAM speeds. I'm hoping they might improve that in the future with a BIOS update, but even at these speeds, I haven't really noticed any massive impacts on the actual speed or the power of the laptop. But it does feel like a shame when you've got other brands using 6,400 mega transfers. In fact, even Lenovo does on the Legion 7 Pro. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Legion 9i gaming laptop from Lenovo. I love it, but as always, I'd love to know what you guys think. Would you consider one of these at this insane price, or will you wait for a sale? Or do you think the other laptops of the 18-inch are better? Let me know in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. And as always, thanks for watching.